Welcome to the Sheild Within. The issues discussed on the Sheild Within podcast do not reflect the opinions of any specific agency. They are the views of the host and the guest. Any persons discussed may be fictional for comedic purposes only. This podcast is rated explicit and listener discretion is advised. Listening to the Sheild Within may trigger repressed or suppressed memories or experiences. Please contact a mental health professional at your earliest convenience. It's time for the chaos to cease.
Time to open yourself to peace.
From the hours you've put in,
to the next shift you begin.
From the endless pursuit of release
that finds the worst unleashed.
Transform the ugly into a win.
Get to know your shield within.
Welcome to the Sheild Within.
Welcome, Marc.
We have a very special two guests. We have Captain Fabulous.
Good evening.
And we have the one and only Mr. Mike McRill.
Hello.
Did I say that right?
You did.
I did. Perfect. We're Mike and I have known one another for quite a while.
Yeah.
Long time. And Dr. David, after Wives version 3, we had your lovely wife here. He said, why don't we have Mike on? I said, I don't know. Why don't we have Mike on?
We never heard of a cop who's an asshole before. We've got to bring this guy in.
That's right.
Remember, Mike, self-love. Yeah. If you talk about yourself that way, you got to love yourself first. Anyway, let's do some business here real quick. So, Facebook, we all know you're on it because I see the demographics. So, Facebook / the Sheild Within. Please give us a like. Go hit like and follow. Also, Patreon, we're on that as well. If you got that extra $5 a month laying around, don't know what to do with it, Patreon / Sheild Within, www.theshieldwithin.com. You can see our smiling faces there. And if you're in need, you can reach out, punch that coaching button. You can get the master himself, Master Yoda, Dr. David, or go to lessonslearnedcoaching.com. So here we go. So great to have you here, Dr. David.
Good to be here.
Look at all the notes you got.
Yeah, that's a little disturbing.
This is accumulated over 3 years. This is not all for you, Mike. Thank God.
I was like, did you get my personnel file?
Holy shit.
or your disciplinary file.
It's relatively small, to be honest.
Well, there's much to dive into, but I'm kind of a present tense oriented guy.
Great.
So what are you doing now?
I work for a nonprofit up in Shelby County, up in Sydney.
Awesome.
And it's called Agape Distribution. And it was started over 30 years ago by a gentleman named John Geisler.
Okay.
He was a pastor, and he saw a way to end food scarcity in Shelby County and began a food pantry. And it has now grown, and I would call it a food pantry on steroids. It's more like a small grocery store.
Wow.
It is completely self-funded, which is almost unheard of in a nonprofit event. I mean, we don't go out and have to beg for money. We receive a little United Way funding, but we cut it in half this year, and we're going to ask them to cut it in half again next year. We have something called the agency store, which is a portion of our operation, and that store generates income, and the income is sufficient to run the store and to run the food pantry, pay the salaries, keep the lights on, and we are in the process of doing about $1 million upgrade on our 30-year-old building that we use.
Wow.
So it's a very rewarding. I find I encounter many of the same folks that I knew from the street.
Okay.
And so they come in. They usually still call me Officer McRill. And I tell them, hey, that guy's, I don't know who you're talking to, but he's not here anymore. And oh no, you'll always be Officer McRill to us. Okay, great.
Right.
So, but we get to provide food to them. They walk out with a grocery cart overflowing of food, and at no charge.
At no charge.
Can come twice a month, and the secret is if you say you need it more than twice a month, we tell them, please come back. Well, the answer will always be yes. It's a faith-based organization. So,
okay. Yeah. What drew you to that?
Well, that's interesting. Marc and I were talking earlier about retirement, and I retired from full duty in 2018, stayed on with my department to run an outreach program for people struggling with addiction. During COVID, the city said, hey, you can't go out and visit your folks because you might get COVID. I said, I can't do recovery. I can't meet with these people after an overdose and make a connection over the phone.
Right.
I said, can I go down and work at Agape and just pass out food? Like, oh, yeah, you could do that. Don't ask me what the difference is between a person struggling coming to the curbside and me handing you groceries or me coming to your house.
Right.
But the city didn't figure that out, so I didn't tell them, and I spent about a year there during COVID, assigned there by the police department, funded through my grant to do curbside outreach. The food is the thing, but the thing under the thing, as Jake Clark likes to talk about,
Mad Jake Clark.
is the recovery. And we use the food as the thing to get to the thing under the thing.
Right.
So I ended up there, and John Geisler at that time was still with us. He asked me to serve on their board.
Okay.
I did. Spent a couple of years there, and then we found that John was going to pass away. We found he had cancer and had about 6 months to live. Came totally out of the blue to us and to him. And I just felt a very strong call. My faith is very important to me, and I tell people I've heard God talk 3 times, and it was not an audible voice, but on this one it was the same as before, an overwhelming, overpowering thought that I can't shake that says, I need you to come here to Agape. Oh, gee, God, what am I going to do here? I don't know how to run a pantry. I don't know anything about warehousing. I didn't ask you what you knew how to do. I told you where I need you.
Yes.
And I still don't know how to run a food pantry, and I still have no idea how to run a warehouse. But I've been doing it for 2.5 years. So, but yeah, for me, it was a natural progression from law enforcement. So,
what's an average day like doing what you do?
Get in there about 7 o'clock, and we stock shelves, and we have shipments come in. We've got a huge warehouse. I probably have 6 to 8 weeks of food stockpiled. If my deliveries stop tomorrow, I can continue operation.
Wow.
About 10 o'clock, the customers start showing up, and we serve them until 3. They walk in the door. We'll serve anywhere from sometimes 50 people to 100 people.
No kidding.
It just depends on what's going on. They come in, they shop, they push out a grocery cart overflowing with food, and it is extremely rewarding. I mean, there's they've got a lot of gratitude when they walk out.
So is it like is it like when you have dairy and breads and all that?
Well, I've got a walk-in cooler and a walk-in freezer. I mean, just like Walmart or Kroger's, you open up the glass door and you reach in and grab what you want.
No kidding.
And I get. We get all sorts of stuff in. We've got Ben & Jerry's ice cream right now. I would not support them because of their politics. I probably would not be buying that shit. But they called it Churn Out the Vote. Great name, but once the election was over, it didn't mean shit, so they dumped it. I got 35,000 pounds in a little pint. What? 35,000. Yeah. Pounds. Ben & Jerry's Churn Out the Vote ice cream. Do you want ice? I should have brought you ice cream.
She wants ice cream.
Yeah, we got. Damn, I'll have to come back.
We'll come up, won't we, Greg?
Absolutely. We'll watch it melt.
And seriously, though, Mark, one day do come up.
Yes.
Fabulous. Come up and see what this is. I mean, it is. We talk about it being a place of healing.
Yeah.
The food is the thing. But I had because of the work I got to do with the Tri-County Board and your lovely wife.
Yes.
Had a gentleman in when I first started there that was struggling with mental health issues, and he was suicidal a lot. And he was in counseling, and he was, he never did the things that caused me to call the guys in blue and say, hey, I need a pink slip, guys, His name was Benny, and Benny lets me tell his story, so he's okay with that. And Benny came, and he said, my pastor said I should just come down here and volunteer. I said, Benny, then be here. And he would tell me about his suicidal thoughts and say, Benny, I'm so glad you're here. Please be here tomorrow with us. And he had my phone number, but all he did was the Walmart greeter. He sat at the door when somebody came in and said hello, and he did that for over a year. He now has a job. He's out working. He's better.
Awesome.
He kept saying, man, this place healed me. I said, no, it didn't. You healed you by getting your ass out of bed every day when you didn't feel like it.
Right.
And coming in here and being of use to people that you don't even know by just smiling at them and then learning their names and spending time with them. And when he left, people were like, where's Benny? Where's Benny? So,
and the Jets.
Yeah. That's why I used to sing that when I go by.
Benny and the Jets.
Yeah.
Do you still serve food?
Oh yeah, that's all. That's what we do is just hand out groceries. I mean,
and like soup and food, like lunch or stuff.
No, we don't serve hot food.
Okay.
Up in our community, we have the Alpha Center, and Holy Angel Soup Kitchen serves hot meals.
I see.
We just have groceries, basically. But again, it's a pantry on steroids. It looks more like a small grocery store.
Right. Right.
So,
way cool.
Yeah.
Is there a hard part to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, I can't say there is.
Awesome.
It's I've got so much volunteer help that sometimes we're bored, but again, part of that is just the camaraderie. A lot of older people who are retired and have no other place to be, they find a place to be of value into their community and serve other people, and that which touches on why did we all get into law enforcement? If you go, we used to do the mental health first aid classes and trauma informed policing. Why did you get into law enforcement? Well, I want to help people. So I think it's more of a universal thing. Most of us want to help people drive fast and carry a gun.
Right. That's what I told everybody.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Where do I sign up for that job?
Yeah. Oh, you're going to pay me for that?
Right.
And give me free ammunition?
Watching Gary and Mel on Cops, I'm like, how do I do that?
Hell yeah.
And get paid.
And get paid.
That's right. No, it was like, I get paid? Wow. This is cool.
And then I learned what overtime was.
Right.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
And then holiday overtime. Oh, my God. You're paying me twice as much for this?
Yeah, but when we got started, I mean, it was hard getting a job.
$1 a year.
Yeah.
You take a civil service test with 500 guys in the room.
Exactly.
Like, oh, my God.
And you work for free.
Yeah.
$1 a year.
Yeah.
We all did that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's neat. You continue to serve.
I think so. I mean, again, just a different way. Now, I do carry a gun every day, just because, hey, if the bad person wants to come there, they're not going to harm the people that are with me.
Right. You're ready.
Yeah.
Do you take this kind of work home? Do you take it home in your head, your heart?
God, Dave, yeah, that's a great question. And yes, but in a very positive way, unlike our former career where you took home damage.
Yeah.
I get to take home, healing. So it's almost sort of like in a way balancing those scales.
Yes.
So I get to take home. I tell a story. We got a family came in about a couple months ago. I said, "Hey, we're not going to be here anymore," and we thought that was sad. This was going to be something's wrong, and they're like, "Well, we're moving to Miami County, and we don't serve Shelby County, or you only serve Shelby County residents."
Right.
I said, "Well, I can get you a list of the pantries in Miami County, who we partner with, and who No, you don't understand because of the aid we've received here, the help over the years, and other agencies that had helped them. She says, we've saved enough for a down payment. We're buying our first house."
Oh, wow.
And so again, I tell people it's not about the food.
Right.
That's just the thing under the thing, or the thing on top of the thing. So
it's the thing about the thing.
The thing about the thing. Yeah. And so you get things like that where you realize that, God, I thought it was just a cart of food. No, we've been a small piece of these folks having to have their first home, and they were probably in their late 30s, early 40s. So this was not a this is not a brand new couple, 21 years old buying their first house. This was a couple with kids that
it's tough for families.
Many years.
Yeah.
And that's great. You've been a part of that too.
Yeah. And that's
a satisfaction right there.
Yeah. That's what you take home. So, instead of laying awake at night and thinking, seeing those images that we all have, you wake up and go, wow.
Yeah.
Fucking A, I made a difference today.
Absolutely.
Or I was a part of something that made a difference. Yeah.
Well, and that's the best thing to do, especially, once you get out of law enforcement, you've made that switch.
Yeah.
And, my great friend, John Holland, God rest his soul, when he retired from the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, where, he retired from 30 years from Virginia Liquor Control, but he was a Springfield boy. So he was in Ohio, guys. When I went down there, we made quick friends. But anyway, he went and volunteered at the hospital. And, he was the wheelchair guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, go up to room, whatever, and bring this guy down. And and loved it. He's did that 3 days a week. And, a lot of these guys that retire, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
The job's over. Yeah, the job is over.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to do. And that's great that you're doing something. And that's a feeling that you're getting every day that you can't quantify that. And you don't get that type of satisfaction, from there's been great days at work.
Yeah.
Great days on the job. But what you're doing every day as a volunteer and what you're doing there as a food pantry, helping people. And what I'm finding out here 4 years out of the job is that, finding that empathy, finding that, I don't know, the warm and fuzzies, I guess, for lack of a better term,
exactly.
and always being faith-based. That's why when I was talking about the 4 F's, faith is always first.
Yeah.
Always. God above all, then family, then friends, then your favorite activities. And I did a couple of shorts, 30-second video reel put out there, just, please like our stuff. But, in the one when I talked about faith, the first of the 4 F's, that one got the most feedback. And, you were talking about with your faith and doing this, and, people are like, how does God speak to you? And I think the people that's had that higher power, that higher calling, that's where you're going to be. And that's the thing about with God. He doesn't give you the roadmap.
No, just gotta listen for the voice,
right,
and trust.
But you have
the faith that's
faith. That's right.
Okay, that seems like a really stupid idea, but okay, God,
here we go.
Here I am.
If you consulted with me, I'd have said, "Hell no, this is dumb." But you didn't. So,
for all 3 of you listening to Mike and Mike yourself, the rewards from doing what you do with the distribution center are obvious when you talk about them and see them on your face. Are those rewards different from the reward of being a police officer? Is it the same kind of thing or something different?
wow. I guess to employ a Jake Clark reference, he talks about the internal drugstore and how we're all hitting that internal drugstore.
Right.
And I don't remember all the specific chemical names, but that sense when you've gone code 3, you chased the guy, and you caught the guy, and he's done something to hurt somebody else, and now you've got him.
Yeah.
And you've balanced the scales of justice, and that rush that you get in that feeling. It's the same
Dopamine.
sort of thing. Yeah.
Is that what that is?
It's the same sort of feeling that I've made a difference in the world. Because I was here today.
Okay. It's
Something's better for somebody.
Yeah. It's the making a difference.
Yeah, it's the making the difference. It's not the same thing. I mean, there's more of an adrenaline rush to chasing people down and jumping over fences and kicking indoors, But this lacks the adrenaline. But,
surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah. Or stop in the name of the law. I had a buddy that actually said that once, and we roared like, oh my God. He had no idea where that came out when he was chasing the guy. Stop in the name of the law.
Yeah, he stopped me, turned around, like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to agree with Mike on that. I mean, you get that, because I like to give, especially in retirement. Giving now has a whole new aspect for me.
How about this program, Mark? I mean, how does this? It's obvious that this is very important to you, and you've been doing it now for a couple of years.
Yeah,
what's the reward? Because I don't imagine you're getting $100,000 a year.
No.
To a podcast.
I tell everybody, if you want to do that's always it. What time is it on? Which is I always laugh when people say that. Well, clearly you don't podcast, but and they're like, "Do you make any money doing that?" And I said, "Well, getting a podcast is like you going to the music store and buying a guitar thinking you're going to be, a rich rock star or musician. If God reaches down and touches this studio and we suddenly go viral, then great for us. But this is our great friend from the Chip Terry Fund. Why am I drawing a blank?
Carla?
No. Chip Terry Fund.
Oh, Joe
Terry. Yeah, there we go. This is a ministry. The hell that I went through, unimaginable. Sadly, there's so many other officers that are finding themselves in that same clusterfuck. Yeah. We're rated explicit, so I'll swear a little bit. So the purpose of the Sheild Within was, I did a lot of work with David. I was having a lot of colleagues that were hurting, wanting to get into something has to change. I got to get into counseling. So they call somebody, or they do the EAP program. Yeah, that's a cluster. Or they get like 2 visits and like, okay, you're done. All better now. Go back to work.
Yeah.
You know, and they're hurting and they don't know what to do. And I was the same way. You know, first time I called David, it was a long time before I ever actually sat down in his office.
Right.
So, you know, let's come up with something. Let's create a show that's, you know, retired cop, retired therapist, and we'd be the first one that's doing it. But I wanted each show to feel like a therapy session. This is what it's like. And you know, we had Sergeant Chris on last episode, and he likes to say we're his home study. He says, so for those of us that are doing the home study work, you know, but you know, if you don't want to go and you kind of want to get a feel of it,
right?
That's the purpose of this show. So yeah, this is giving back.
Yep.
You know, no, this doesn't make any money. This is like a money pit, but it's not about the money. It's about the ministry. Right. Of giving back and serving our fellow first responder. And it's like we were talking about off air when we were visiting in the green room. You like how I threw that in, Greg? Captain Fabulous. The green room. Yeah, it's my living room.
The pizza was great too. Dr. David. Thank you, Dr. David.
Dr. David brought pizza in tonight. Where did we get? Three Joes. Three Joes in Pickwa. They're not paying us to say this. But
that's right.
Next time, pizza better be free, guys. Anyway, you know, I lost my train of thought, so I'm kind of rambling. Anyway, so we were talking before we came in here, you know, about the stories of doing things and why we're here. That's why we do it. Nothing makes me any more happier than getting those messages, however we get them, you know, through the Facebook page or Messenger, or I have a Messenger, you know, button there. On our website.
Well, you mentioned when we were eating the pizza, you mentioned getting a text from somebody who said, "Man, dude, thanks for the podcast. I thought I was all alone. I thought I was the only one."
Yes. And we get them from all over, you know, the United States. You know, we've had people reach out, and they're just like, you know, thank you for doing this because I had no idea.
Yep.
And again, we're a set of resources,
right,
to be able to help. You know, if they call in or they message us, you know, David will find somebody in their area that'll be able to take care of.
And you look at Mike and Mark. I mean, 2 different venues, same type of services. You're servicing your community and public, and Mark here is servicing, like you say, when you had Sergeant Chris here and stuff. Everybody has something to contribute.
Yeah.
And that's what you're contributing, and then also with your community giving back to you as you're out and about in the community, and you're seeing the fruits of what you put into it, just like that family that was able to buy their own home and then move on.
I mean, that's huge. I mean, I can live forever on that.
It is. Something small like that, and then all the stuff that this podcast is doing and continue to do, and how other people are healed that we don't know about, and that success stories, and or that reaching out to like Dr. Dave and others to.
So how about you? What do you do that feeds your soul now?
Well, recently,
other than this podcast,
of getting involved in stuff, it's the faith with that. Recently, within the last year or so, belonged to a men's group.
Okay.
With that, breakfast in the morning with some friends and stuff, and getting involved in that.
Are we allowed to ask which church you're affiliated with?
It's Southbrook. It's down in the southern of Montgomery County.
Okay.
And what's neat about that is it is cops. Some are retired, some are current with that, and then there's other people involved within this men's group, and then we also do outreach programs into the community with youth, that where we go once a month to serve meal with them. This is youth that is struggling within home life, but then they have a good faith base of where they're going to. And then they have role models, education stuff. And we go there as men, serving with that, interacting with them during the dinner time and also afterwards for recreation, and then helping out with that. What's neat about this program, and then what we do, is the kids don't know what we do or what we did. They see us as men
you're just
being
the man
there,
just here to
as mentors.
Feed me and play games.
Absolutely, with that.
Yep.
So when that time does come and they might see us in a different light, hopefully they get a different understanding. Holy
shit, these guys were cops?
Absolutely.
Cops were assholes.
Absolutely, with this.
No, Mark Macy stayed at home.
In serving in that way, too, is kind of like how you're serving is very fulfilling with that, because when you leave with that, it's you've done something good. I learned something from them. They learned something from us.
Are these young men in more inner city?
Yes, very inner city with that.
So their interaction with law enforcement has probably not been positive.
Correct for that in that interaction, but they're there on their own merit. They have to maintain their grades at their respectful schools, with its inner city or private.
Must be something they feel they're getting out of it, because no teenager does something if they're not getting something out of it.
Absolutely. And what's great about the program is they can continue to go there. They also have work within that program to where they can go out and cut grass, do other types of stuff within the community and earn a paycheck.
Fantastic.
Sometimes some of these kids that are there, that's the only paycheck the family sees when they bring it home. And then when you get a 1099 and you got to do all that and taxes, they get to learn all this type of stuff. And to be involved in that once a month is very special for that. So it's very neat, and bringing podcasters like us together and hearing other stuff and how we're in that next phase of our life and how we continue to serve with that.
How about when Captain Fabulous does a lot more than just that?
I get that.
This guy has got his toe in
We're peeling it back slowly. Give me a second.
Are you really a doctor or what? Okay. Go ahead, Mike. Yes.
What about when the big reveal happens? You know, oh, by the way, we're all cops.
Yeah.
Do you ever get the moment where wow, I'm seeing cops in a different light now?
I think so, yes.
Are you guys all like this? Are you...
Right. And that's what we're bringing there. That's special. That's what we're hoping, is that we're not all the suits of armor coming in and you're seeing us in that negative light.
And you can after you've revealed what your past career was, how much longer will you have contact with that child? Is it?
I think it will be ongoing.
Okay, yes. So they will know going forward. Hey, this guy was a cop.
Absolutely,
fantastic.
So
not only is that good for the kid, and you, it's good for our profession.
Absolutely,
people get to see what really is beneath the uniform.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you're serving 20 plus years and you move on, you're still going to have that contact, or hopefully out there in that field with that children or that children's children to grow up to have that. Try to break that stigma.
Generational trauma
with that. So
that's right.
What we want to see on with. So that's the joy about that, kind of like with your background.
Yeah.
Is having that, and it's all we begin our visit with a prayer. We learn about each other. We learn about favorites, and then we end, with prayer, because it's all faith based over there too. So, which is
fantastic. That is so cool. I love working with kids, especially.
Absolutely,
so
it is
neat when we get them in the pantry to volunteer, and I get juvenile court kids assigned to me, and the thing we say to them is, "Look, there's only two people in here that know why you're here. Me and you. Everybody else here thinks you're some teenage kid that's up on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. to serve their community, and they will only know what you show them. So they stand at the packing table and they help folks pack, take their groceries to the car, and I always give them a shot. Hey, what do you think if a kid gets up at 7 a.m. and here packing groceries for people they don't even know? This kid is awesome. Oh my gosh, they're at Sydney High School, and I used to go to Sydney High School, and you watch this kid he's in trouble with juvenile court, which means he's probably not heard this kid is awesome in at least the past 10 years. And it's just, you see that change in them. Where, okay, the cop sees value in me, Now maybe I have value in myself, because this guy who I don't know just sees value in me. I've just met him and he thinks I'm worth something. Maybe I am. Yep. You are.
Yeah, and that's a big confidence builder.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And again, it's all a matter for all three of you of making a difference. Sure. With each thing that you've chosen to dive into post-retirement, it's meaningful. It's consistent. It's not something you do once a week.
Right.
You do it like every day. I mean, it's a constant theme in your life. And that kind of reward, you make a difference. And that's what makes the next day happen.
Yeah.
Really. Okay, going back. There was this day in your life when you thought, I'm going to be a law enforcement officer. So I'm real curious about that day. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. I bring this up. Well, we'll bring that up later. It was when I was in high school. I knew I wanted to be a cop from the time I was probably about a sophomore in high school.
Wow. How did that insight come? You're 16.
I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but curiously, the 4 or 5 boys that I hung out with in my gang, my group, we're all still very close. We just lost one of our friends. We all became cops.
Oh, is that right? That's cool.
Wow. 2 of us worked in the same department. One worked for our county.
That's cool.
And, the other was down in Fairborn.
Huh.
That's cool.
And so I don't know why. It's just something that was wired in me, and maybe that's what attracted me to hang with these guys. I did not pursue law enforcement.
Okay.
About junior year or so, my father asked me what it was that I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I think I want to go to academy and be a cop.
He went, what?
Yeah, well, he was a school superintendent. My mom was a school teacher.
Right.
And, I found out later he had aspirations. He wanted me to be a podiatrist. Really? Hang on people's dirty toenails and shit? That doesn't sound like fun. Would have made a shitload of money. But
Not for me.
yeah, not for me. He said, you need to grow up and get out of your fantasy life.
Wow.
My father was almost always right. In retrospect, my parents, I look back and trusted their guidance. So I assumed, okay, I guess, what do I want to do? Mom and dad are teachers. Aunt and uncles are teachers. Fuck it, I'll go be a teacher. So I went to school for elementary education.
Okay.
But always knew I was never in the right place. And
It's kind of lived back there in the back of your head.
And I was okay teaching, but not, it was
job.
work. It was a job. Yeah, it was like I'm punching my clock and resenting the time I have to do at home, still doing my work and not being paid for it. And but love the kids. Love connecting with youth. And finally, after 13 years of teaching, I said, no, screw this. I was 35 or 34, and I had tried multiple times to get on different departments, and we'll talk about that damn psych test. I did get hired. We joke because I failed it once, passed it 4 more times, so we never let me work more than 4 days in a row because you don't want me on that 5th day because Crazy Mike comes out, But so I finally got that psych test things messed around, and finally the Sydney Police Department said, Jesus, we're going to shut this guy up. He keeps badgering us for a job. We'll just give him a job and he'll go away. Right. So,
did you tell your dad this? Like after 13
Dave,
years?
Thank you. No. When I graduated from college, my father passed away. He got sick and died within about 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
So no. And that's what when I get ADD and get sidetracked here. I usually tell people that story. It's like, I wish I could have gone back to my father and said, no, Dad, this is what, let me explain to you why this is on my heart. And why I believe this is what I'm being called to. And I think he would have understood. My mother is still alive, and she, says your father would be so proud of what you accomplished and the work that you did, and So I know he if I'd had that chance, but I was not strong enough as a teenage boy to stand up to my dad and say, no, this is what I'm going to do, and I don't care if you like it or not.
Yeah.
So
Well, but I think we've all been that way. When I first wanted to get in law enforcement, that I got that pushback from my parents as well. What do you want to do that for?
I don't know.
Of course, he talked me. I wanted to go in the military, right out of high school. He talked me out of that too. So when he started the same shenanigans on law enforcement, I'm like, nah, I'm going to do this. No, this is what I want to do, and I love being a cop. It's best
job ever.
Best job ever.
Yep.
So much fun.
If I was 25, I'd start all over again.
Yeah.
Hopefully not knowing everything I know now, but I'd also know how to take care of myself better. So that when you hit that 10-year mark and the wheels start coming off the wagon.
Right. So so let's this is a good segue for this.
Cool.
When we interviewed Dan Willis, he was talking about what departments have a retiree, kind of like a reach back or a touch base with the retirees, and could we as retirees go back into the department and just kind of put your arm on that newbie's shoulder and say, hey man, listen to the old Sarge or the old hat here, and we got some things we want to tell you and share with you. So I really think that we as an industry, by not having that relationship, I don't know, whatever you would call that, with the younger ones, because once you're done, hey, you're done. You're out of the cult.
Yep.
You're dead to me now.
Yeah.
It's like you're out the door, and nobody wants to hear from you.
Yeah.
Travis Howell's the author, Find Your Own Light, or whatever the heck the book's right there. Yeah. Create Your Own Light. There we go. Talks about is anybody checking up on the retirees? Mm-hmm. And nobody is. I mean, even with the other departments I've been with, we had one retiree. Of course, he interjected himself a lot after he left. And it was always good to see them. Mm-hmm. But, when we've had guys come back in, and hell, they wouldn't even let them in the office. Just make them stand out in the lobby. It's like, well, that's fucking shitty.
Yeah.
Why aren't we embracing our retirees? It's like Captain Fabulous and I had a few conversations. Think about, you would have laid your life down for these folks.
Yep.
Willfully. Do the honorable thing, or whatever. Yeah. Go down in a blaze of glory, and then you say you're going to retire. Hey, congratulations, goodbye.
Yeah.
Click.
Yeah.
It's like you're picking the phone up, and there's no dial tone anymore. It's like, what happened? How did we get here? And Captain Fabulous and I are part of the same retirees group. Lodge 44 has a great retirees group, which it's just such a blessing to be a part of those guys. And probably every one of their meetings, there's probably 100 people there. And their Dayton Police Department, their lodge, full-time lodge people, they're all there. The younger guys are there.
Oh wow!
It's just it's a great sense of community. Yeah. And I was so blessed and honored to be able to be a part of that group. And I try and go. They're like whatever day of the month, for the meeting. Mm-hmm. And it's always just fun to go see the guys, because we're all, you were in Sydney, I was in Tip City. Cap, can we say where you were?
No, absolutely. Montgomery County, very proud of that. Proud of that. Yes.
And, so we're all intermingled. Of course, I know a lot of times in my world, from Miami County, the world stops at the border. Don't dare go down south and talk to those people. Yeah. But it's just a great community to be able to be a part of that group of retirees. But I really just wish that some of these departments would recognize that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like the mental health aspect of it, which is kind of what we do here on this show. And I know I got some younger people that listen in. Had a wonderful experience about 3 or 4 weeks ago where a guy was, I call it your apple cart tipping over, right? Right. His ad, and we were talking about wanting to get together. I'm like, well, did you call so and so? And he's like, well, I really didn't. I really wanted to talk to you. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Me being dense. I'm like, well, we'll just go to breakfast. He said, that'd be perfect. So down to George's we went, and we had a really good talk, and got him on a good path of recovery. And that's what we do here on this show. You find those people and you're literally at the base of the mountain looking up. Yeah. When you finally have that awareness that I'm fucked, I'm not sleeping. I was talking today with a colleague, one of my coworkers at the academy, and I was like, hey, how you doing today? Because I'm always the ray of sunshine when I come in the door. And he's like, oh, I didn't sleep with the fuck last night. And I said, I slept like a baby. I said, you know why? And he's like, why? I said, gummies. I said, yeah, try them. There's a dispensary. Oh, no.
Yeah, see, I'm still not sure where that... I still have my commission.
Oh, I know.
I don't know how that plays in if there's a random. I mean, I use trazodone prescribed for me by my
it's
general practitioner.
Yeah. See, I can't take trazodone because it blurs my vision.
Really?
Oh, it fucks me up. Yeah. I tried to. Now I use my trazodone on the dog, but
of course there's trazodone and NyQuil.
Right, there you go.
Tylenol PM, bourbon.
Okay, so right. So you just named 3 things that are all chemicals, right?
Yeah.
So if you take, now you do the what is it, 10, 10, and 10.
Right.
1 gummy. About an hour. It's time for bed. Yeah. I mean, in an hour.
I've got a family member who's a nurse practitioner, and she said she uses that.
I'm not dreaming cop.
Yeah.
I don't dream cop when I take my gummies. If I don't take my gummies, we're running, we're gunning, we're fighting, we're chasing, more cop dreams. But I don't have it with the gummies. Yeah. And then we talked about that a couple episodes ago with Jerry.
Right.
And it's like why Ohio State legislature has legalized cannabis products.
Where does it come in, as an officer, if I'm, at the pantry one day and somebody comes in, decides to shoot up a pantry, thank God I happen to be there, draw my weapon, engage.
Right.
And afterwards,
well,
we always hear the horror stories. They're going to take blood and find out what's in your system.
Right.
Wait a minute, you wouldn't have shot my client who was coming in to kill everybody.
You're not intoxicated. Yeah. See, that's kind of
that's what I. Yeah.
What have we been told our whole career, gentlemen?
Yeah.
You have a 24-hour intoxication level.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Yeah. Even when I was smoking pot before I was a cop, 3 hours, David? How long does a buzz last?
If you're it depends a lot on what you're taking and how much you consume.
Okay,
but
I'm going to smoke a joint tonight and drink a beer and go to bed. How long am I going to be high for?
A couple hours.
That's it. And you're going to be drunk for an hour.
And it's not going to change your behavior that much.
Right.
I mean, a session with alcohol changes behavior more than a session with cannabis does.
Oh, you want to talk about behavior
tremendously?
Change? I mean, a couple shots of tequila.
Yeah.
Be ready to fight.
Yeah. I'm just learning. My clients are teaching me I should learn about moonshine, so I bought a bottle of moonshine a couple of weeks ago.
How'd that go for you?
And I'm liking it, but I don't drink it very often.
No, only in small quantities.
You could go blind too.
Those clear liquors are high proof. But
yes,
apple pie. It's
way
too tasty.
Yes,
but I'm listening to y'all and I'm thinking, because this came up with a first responder last week I worked with in Florida. And I think I know what your answer is going to be, but I need to ask it for all three of you. Does any agency anywhere, any department anywhere, take volunteers into the department for anything?
Volunteer, yeah, some of them do.
Yeah.
So
like volunteer chaplains and volunteer people to shuffle cars or stand traffic and stuff like that. Yes, there's.
My department didn't use so many volunteers.
Auxiliaries, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have any.
You didn't have any?
We didn't have any in-house volunteers. There were civilians who were paid to be there.
Right. The smaller departments generally don't. Yeah. The larger departments do have quite a bit of volunteer. I know, like down Montgomery County, you guys had the 400 units. Those are all volunteer guys.
And what would you do? Say again, Greg. What would the volunteer do for the department?
Facet of things is like now they have a committee set up for the FOP or retirees to where they do a luncheon once a month, and they put those together.
Okay.
They also have a group to where they have a retiree shoot. You have to qualify once a year with that. Then they might serve breakfast. There's also volunteers that would go out if they be on call-outs if you have a bad crash. They would grab a cruiser, come out and sit at a traffic post for 8 hours, and they will not leave. But if you put a cop at a traffic post for 45 minutes, they're going to wander the UDF or something else and leave the traffic post. So your volunteer is more dedicated to being out there than the cop. But no, there's very different. The larger departments, you have a lot of volunteers for that. Like out in Las Vegas, they have a lot of volunteers groups out there, especially for mental health and stuff that helps out with family and friends and stuff. So that's where their core base was, where they continue to serve, and a lot of them is faith-based within that volunteer group and coming back and chaplains in jails and bringing that in with that. So it's
so like could a retired cop come in and volunteer?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of them. You know, like Huber Heights has a COPP program. 2 Ps. I know I kind of mumbled that. It's the COP program, or I think theirs is the Pride. But they're volunteer people. They go out in a retired police cruiser with the yellow and green light bar on. And like what Captain Fabulous said, you know, if there's a big grinder out there in the interstate, they'll sit there with their
they'll block traffic and
direct traffic and things like that.
Wow,
great asset.
Citizens on Proactive Patrol is the COPP program, and what they also do is we have the Explorers. Matter of fact, I was talking with Destiny. Hello, Destiny. You didn't think I was going to call you out. She listens. She's one of our friends from Columbus Division of Police. So they start in the middle school, and they were hitting me with all these acronyms about what CPD does for community outreach. So they have an officer that goes to the school. They have one in the middle school, one in the high school. So they have the Explorer program. And in a certain age group, I think they're like,
great program.
15,
It's 14 to 20, and it's through the Boy Scouts of America.
Yeah, so it's in my daughter's calling. We ought to put her on the air. She'd be so pissed off. Hey, Jen, you're on the Sheild with them. But anyway, they're volunteers. And then Columbus also has a cadet program.
Oh, wow.
Now, the cadets are not sworn, but they are getting paid, but they go out and they help out as well.
Right.
So what we do is we in our driver's training group, our driver's training instructor class, we need, we call them novice drivers. So what happens is that they bring those people over. We have our student instructors teach them how to drive, right? So now they actually have a student that don't know fuck about shit about driving, so they can actually teach, and it isn't detrimental to them. But, so if you're looking for the volunteer aspect of it, so a lot of smaller departments don't have those resources.
Okay.
So like here in Tip City, we're 20 people.
Right.
When I was the midnight sergeant, I ran the fucking city. I was the tip of the spear at night. So if you need something, call the sergeant.
And I was fortunate enough, when I was 14 years old, I started out in the Explorer program.
Okay.
Police with that, then went from there. So it's a great program.
And it still exists.
It does. A lot of communities use that, and that's how you get your employees back then. Is you started off because that was a very demanding job, and then the openings, and you wanted to put your best foot forward, and that was through the Boy Scouts of America. So as you pursued that with that agency to go on, that's what you want to do, because you ride along, you do stuff, you go to community events, those outreaches, and that was to springboard you into law enforcement.
Okay.
So now with these programs, there's so many cop jobs open now. You can go to the academy and you get one tomorrow, and it's a different type of concept. So you've seen the volunteer role kind of shift more towards the adult life, coming back in and wanting to serve than it is with the youth.
Okay, well that means what I suggested to this man was reasonable. He lives in an area where there is a pretty major law enforcement agent, a lot of employees, and therefore it's likely they probably take volunteers. And therefore he would have meaningful, very familiar service to and connect with all these folks at the same time.
So you have a retiree? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, he's happily retired. I mean, he's very happy doing what he's doing, but there's a part of him that really wants to reconnect with the folks. Like, they're not so much the cult, but the colleagues, and
and that's kind of what we're doing here. But I don't know. I guess I got kind of like mixed feelings on it.
Okay.
And where they're mixed at is that, do you really want to get back in, or you just want to put your toe in it?
Yeah.
Being a retiree, maybe you just want to keep your toe in it a little bit, just kind of reconnect with the people, not necessarily go in and do anything. But that's
God, I wouldn't know how to write a report or do an OH1 or anything. No, that's all electronic now.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't care to know. I do enough copping in my head at night when I dream. When I don't take gummies, I don't want to do it anymore.
You just want to go to an event and hand out trinkets and trash and then move on.
That's the recruiting table. That would be a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I love it.
What else you got on there? We had so much other stuff we need to bring up.
Okay. You've taught for 13 years. Your dad's gone. Are you married at this point?
Yes, to Karen, who was on your show here the last time around.
Did you have any kids at that point?
No, we did not have our daughter yet.
Okay. So you in my head, it's like you came home from school, from work one day, and you said, honey, I'm going to switch. I'm not going to be a teacher anymore. I'm going to be a cop.
Yeah, she was a school teacher, so she was excited. At one point we talked about having a houseboat down on Cumberland or whatever, and that's where we spend our summers, because we all have summers off. And if it snows, you stay home. And then all of a sudden I come home and, honey, those vacations you want to do? No, we're not doing that.
Exactly.
We're not going
anywhere.
She was
supportive. I mean, she jokes about it now that giving up the vacation, but she knew that was my passion, and she knew that there was a deeper calling there.
Yeah.
And so she was very supportive. I don't know how well it went the day that our daughter was born, which was the day before my academy graduation, and I was at OSP Academy, so they don't let you just walk out of there whenever you want to. Got the phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning. She called in, and they said, "We'll have to see if he's allowed to leave." And she said, "She's screaming on the phone. I'm in, my water's broke. I'm in labor. He's damn well coming home. But we'll let you know."
Yeah,
they did let me come home. They said, "You be back here in 24 hours. Do not speed." And you have graduation tomorrow, and you're giving the speech, so don't forget, you have to be back. Yes, sir.
Wow. Okay. So at the moment you're about to tell Karen, I'm making a radical decision about the rest of my life. Did you strategize that communication? Did you have doubt? Were you anxious?
I had tried other times to get on the department. We joked about that psych test, and that's for real. I tried multiple times, and I was not in the military, and most of the departments I applied to used civil service. So the gentlemen that had served our country, and rightfully so, received their bonus points. And so I would score well on the test, but then that would drop me down on the list because they would get their percentages added on. So it made it difficult when there was 300 or 400 cats in a room, and there's 2 jobs available or 1 job available, and you start off being number 1 or 2 on the test, and by the time they add the bonus, you're number 50. Wow. So you're not. And so she had known that I had tried. So she kind of had an inkling, and said, "Honey, I'm gonna try one last time. I mean, this is it. If I don't make it this time, I'll be 35, and it won't work." So,
go ahead.
Keep going, Mark.
Well, but age is such a misnomer with law enforcement. We're really recruiting the wrong age.
Yeah, we really are. I believe I was a better cop at 34 than I would have been at 21.
Right. The great Paul Butler talks about this. He's a lecturer, leadership lecturer, and when I had him when I went through PELC, he stressed that we're and I've been saying this forever, and he went around the room. It was pretty cool. He's like, "What'd you do before you were a cop? What'd you do before you were a cop?" Roofers and restaurant workers and whatever. I was in the car salesman, but at 35 is really, I think you're the best.
Yeah.
But they want you younger because you got to get that 25-year pension.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Law enforcement you should be able to get a percentage pension at 10 years. And the longer you stay, the more you get. So let's say, and I'm just going to pull numbers out of my ass. You do 10, 12 years, you can get 50%.
Yeah.
What happens to us? How bad does it fuck our heads up, right? Yeah, look at old Mark the cop. I can tell you that right now, FUBAR. But you're the best because you're able to make better decisions. You'll be able to be more empathetic,
Oh yeah,
than that 21-year-old kid. You have life experience. You taught. I mean, I'm sure being a school teacher made you great with negotiating with people out on the street.
Oh yeah. I taught numerous of them, so we didn't have to get to know you times like, "Hey, Bill,
but that
knock that shit off."
Yeah.
Sir, Mr. McRill, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. But you have to be able to talk to people when you're in law enforcement. These introverts that want to get into there because I want to be the police, dude.
Yeah.
If you can't walk up and make that instant rapport, that's why I always say waitresses and bartenders make the best cops.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But you take that person. At 35, who's tired of serving or working a bar,
right?
If they don't have a record, why not look at law enforcement?
Yeah,
you're going to go do this job because I was the same way.
Yeah,
and almost verbatim, I'm hearing you say those words, Mike, and I was the same way. I told my wife, "This is it. I'm gonna. If I don't get this job and tip, I'm done. I'm going to do something else." But God has that plan.
Oh yeah, and I always said I wasn't ready, and He knew that.
Right.
He said, "I need you to." I tell people in the work that I got to do later with people in recovery. I said that when you're a school teacher, you get this kid that walks in the door, and you've got 9 months then, and you get to know him. And that kid that walks in the door is never the kid that walks out the door. You find there's a really neat person. You sometimes hear, "Oh, Billy's going to be in your class." "Oh shit, I've heard some horror stories about Billy. Damn, he's on my list." And then you find out Billy's really a neat kid. As a cop, I knew that going in, that the person that I see in this moment, walking in my door, so to speak, or me walking in their door, is not the whole person.
Right.
There's so much more to this person.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have known that. And that made me a much better cop, made me able to do some of the other things I got to do later in the career.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you take those, and that's the reason why they want you to be younger. Sheriff's departments, they'll hire about any age. How long do you want to be a cop for? A lot of people's like, I've always wanted to do this job.
Yeah.
And how many people have we worked with? I've always wanted to do this job, and they do it for like 2 years, and like, this fucking sucks. I'm going to quit. And I'm like, what? You worked so hard to get here, and you're just going to bail?
Yeah.
Okay. Later, Tater.
Because I wanted weekends and holidays off.
That's what they say. That's right. And that's kind of the thing. When I was the happiest doing my job, I mean, they call up, sure, I go.
Hell yeah.
Didn't think anything about it.
Oh, no.
Hey, we got this going on. Get out of bed and go. We had a crash one night, and I was, kind of the only sergeant that was available. Yeah, my wife's like, where are you going? It's like 8 inches of snow. Yeah, we had a crash on the interstate. I gotta go do my thing. My people.
I get to go play. This is going to be great.
So
I feel like one of those canines getting out of the car. Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, call up Marc at 2:00 in the morning. What are you doing? I'm out patrolling. Okay, I'll be there in a half hour. Okay. I sneak out of the house and ride around for 4 hours, and then slide right back into bed and say, "Oh, hi, honey. How was your evening?"
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Or, hey, I'm at Hinders. Can I get a ride home? Little blue taxi action. Yeah, we can pick you up. But that age group of people make better decisions. They're more empathetic. They're not so much cowboyish. You get some of these younger folks, and I'm not saying all of them, but really that 25, I think, to the late 30s is a great group of people to be able to bring into the profession. And I think that a lot of times what we're doing as law enforcement professionals, they're just not opening themselves up to that.
Yeah. I heard you mention on one of your other podcasts about around having a 15-year retirement possibility. Yes. And that's that's a great idea. That's the first time I heard that, and I thought
15 and out.
Yeah, where you could choose to leave at 15 with enough of a pension that you're okay. I mean, you're probably going to do something else, but
everyone's doing something else.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone, you can't, especially here in the state of Ohio, and listen up, governors, why are we still charging income tax on our pensions?
Yeah. I've got a friend who retired on a medical, and there is no income. He's not taxed.
Not on a medical.
And I'm like, wow.
But a regular, you want to run all your retirees out of the state? Keep charging fucking income tax. First responders should not be taxed to begin with. Period. Hard stop.
Yeah.
We do a job that is life-threatening. And then I get this, well, you know what you signed up for. All right, gentlemen, you too. Anyway, is it a calling or not?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is, or you won't last.
And most people, would you do this job? No. How many times in our careers have we been heard, ain't no way I'd do your fucking job?
All the time.
All the time, right. Yeah. So we also know we're the people running to the gunfire to save them. Why are we taxed?
Great question.
So put the money back in our pockets. We are going to spend it. Why are you taxing the retirees?
Yeah.
So you know what I'm going to do as a retiree? I'm going to move to Tennessee or Florida.
Well, I know that's a lot of the schools passing levies now advertise that the income tax will not be imposed on retarees.
Yeah.
Not just law enforcement, but any retirees, so that they'll vote for the school levy.
Exactly. So I shared a video. Was watching the celebrity Tyrus from the Greg Gutfeld show was interviewing Donald Trump, and that's what he brought up. Tyrus brought up, of course, Tyrus was a professional wrestler, and he brought up to Trump. He's like, why don't we make our first responders non-taxable? And that has went viral, and so now the Sheild Within is, the word of the Sheild Within has been spread a little more because of that video. So I know we kind of went down a rabbit hole on taxation and pensions, but if your first responders are non-taxable, you're going to get more people that want to do the job. Because when we started, you couldn't get a cop job. I went to the city of Piqua. There was 260 applicants.
Yeah. What year was that? You're probably one of the guys I was sitting in a room with.
It was in the 90s.
Yeah. Late 90s.
Late 90s. Yeah. It was out at Edison.
Yeah.
We were all there.
I would have tripped you if I'd known you were coming to the door. Can't take that test.
What do you remember which place?
No.
I was in the 60s.
I was
Still wasn't getting the job.
At the start, somewhere in the top, 10 or 15, and then after the bonus, then you drop down. And,
right. Me and my friend that went there, we both looked at one another. He was like, "What the fuck are we doing here, dude?" He's like, "I don't know." He ended up going to the sheriff's department, and I went to Covington and got on there. It was $1 a year because I figured, well, just like driving a truck, man, you're gonna do this shit for free for a while before you're gonna make any money, because that's what you had to do then. Did you agree with that?
You did, yes. Yeah.
So get your foot in the door somewhere, and then just go work and get the experience, because unless in those days, unless lightning struck you, you were getting the job. It's like what Mike was sharing with, you're competing, and nothing, rightfully so.
Yeah.
I mean, the military is the same way. They should be getting those civil service jobs, but it was just tough to get there, which I tell my recruits now when I go in to teach at the academy. I said, if every one of you in this class ain't got a job coming out of here, you better take a long, hard look in the mirror. There's something wrong with you. Everybody's hiring.
Yeah.
Everybody's hiring. I've never seen so much they have a complete wall down there at the academy. Matter of fact, they have you can see my challenge coin.
Yep.
They have a rack that big full of business cards of all the recruiters in the tri-state area. Lima. A recruiter from Lima came
clear down to
Dayton, Ohio to recruit for officers. But here's a funny story. I'm going to give a shout out to our good friend Scott Hughes, Chief Hughes. He put up an advertisement. I think it was on LinkedIn. Do you want to come somewhere to work where you're respected and you get every other weekend? He didn't talk anything about pay. He just talked about care of and how to take care of your people. Mm-hmm. He had tons and tons and tons of applications, and he never said what he paid. Yeah. And everybody didn't ask about that. People just want to be taken care of.
Yep.
Scott Hughes is a great guy, great chief, good leader.
Awesome.
You were headed somewhere with this one.
No, dude, I'm always headed somewhere, but
hit the pause button. We've been at this for an hour.
Holy shit!
Shall we do episode 2?
We got to do episode 2 because we still got to jump into
we got shit to talk about.
Yeah, I know.
That's right.
Oh, yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Right. Well, hey, Donnie, key it up, man.
May your days and nights find you strong and safe. May you take your place as your family's face. As you do the shit that we won't do. As you embrace the risk you must go through, may you grow in strength and heal and find your heart, your soul, and your mind. You look at your life and grin. You have a home, the Sheild within.